Five. There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Modern Nerd proudly brings to you its 3-time live podcast episodes of all things nerdy. That was it.
Works the
That's all
other
I got.
way,
Good
dude.
night. Have a good night, guys. All right, so welcome back. We
Perfect.
are going to be doing all kinds of stuff. We're going to be all over the place, so follow with us here. First of all, how's it going? Dan, George, how are you guys?
Good.
Still trying to find my spot here.
It's hard to tell when you can't see it.
I know.
It's like,
Good,
don't move.
Good. All right, well, we're just going to drop into it because we got a lot to talk about this time. So, first thing, an older movie that came out, the first, in my opinion, real Marvel movie of Phase 4, not counting Black Widow. Shang-Chi, ladies and gentlemen, dropped, what, 3 weeks ago at this point? Man, if I had to give it a one-word review, excellent. I mean, that was just an excellent movie for me. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think the martial arts scenes were fantastic. They definitely Marvelized them, where it's like, here's a really cool martial arts sequence, and then a bus hanging off of a cliff, and but otherwise, they did pretty good with the action. They did. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was good. I like the way they changed the character of the Mandarin and kind of tied it back in with the Iron Man 3 so that it was kind of all like a whole thing. I think there was a obvious use of comedy in Aquafina and that weird CGI faceless creature, and Trevor Slattery, played by Ben Kingsley, right? Yes.
That was a funny little thing they threw in there.
Yeah. So I had a good time. It didn't end exactly with a sky beam, but it might as well have been a sky beam. But you had a pretty cool end fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I would say that I was just slightly disappointed in was in the trailer, you got to see, like, you saw Abomination, you saw Wong, and they were just so minorly utilized during the scenes. And then, like, when he's gonna go fight, they got this big build up where it's like, who's it gonna be? Who's his opponent? It's someone you've never met before. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, it's cool. I'm like sitting there going, it's his sister. Like, it's
You got
so
debated.
yeah.
You got debated.
But otherwise, I mean, strong opening for Phase 4 of Marvel. I think, the end credit sets it up for a little bit more dive into the history of the rings and how they're going to play into the greater storyline of everything going forward. But I mean, what was this? I can't do it. Simu, how do you say his name?
I think it's Simu Liu.
Simu Liu?
I think
Sorry,
so.
I don't want to screw it up, so I try
I don't
not
know if
to.
that's
But
right either.
I don't know
well,
either. It's okay.
yeah, it was close enough. But well, hopefully it's close enough. Let's go with that. But I mean, I think he was excellent. I think he did very good. Nice delivery. It was really cool seeing oh my God, I forgot her name.
Aquafina.
Nope. His mom, his aunt.
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yo, it was so cool seeing her back in something that is resembling martial arts. 'Cause she didn't have a huge fight sequence in there, but it was more, and it was good. Which punched my microphone. Fuck you, microphone.
Right.
It was good. I think the dad, the guy who played the Mandarin, I think played that very well.
Mhm.
It was you kind of had that, like, he's doing it for what he believes are the right reasons after the marriage, when he puts the rings back on, like, he wants to find his wife, who he thinks is very much alive. And so they kind of string you along where you're like, oh my God, is she, like, is he right? Like, they gave you the evidence.
I thought Michelle Yeoh was going to be revealed to be his mom, honestly.
That'd have been cool.
But that wouldn't.
That
That
fight
would've been
scene
ridiculous.
between the dad and the mom, Mandarin and the mom,
Very,
in the
very good.
so good.
Very good.
So good.
Reminded me of, like, the Crouching Tiger, I mean,
Mhm.
without as much ridiculousness, the hero type fight. It's just with the leaves, and it
It,
was very reminiscent of that.
Michelle Yeoh, what's really interesting is like I think there's a lot of obviously like the movie's filled with like Marvel Easter eggs kind of here and there,
Mhm.
especially with the appearance of Abomination and Wong. I think what's interesting is that somebody um whoever decided to do the, I guess, in charge of like the action or the martial arts sequences or any of the physical, I guess, movements and stuff like that that the actors had to do. Whoever's in charge of that, I guess that would be like a stunt coordinator. Who's ever in charge of that is very familiar with Michelle Yeoh's work in martial arts films in Hong Kong. You know this because the part where then she's doing like in the beginning, she's doing showing like her powers, kind of she's when, like a younger version of her. The style of fighting is like considered like it's like Tai Chi. That's what's supposed to be like, right? It's mirrored after
Mhm.
Tai Chi movements. Michelle Yeoh's like one of her first breakout films in martial arts is like a movie called like I think it's called like there's different names for it, but it's called like Twin Brothers or something like that. It's essentially like the original Tai Chi master. It's the same film that Jet Li got his breakout role in.
Hmm.
So those to make her somebody who was a master in Tai Chi and those movements and all that, it was like looking into like the past of an actor's like career, and it was like a really interesting nod that they decided to cast her for that kind of role and to have her do those kind of martial arts movements, which is like essentially from her first big film, and it's like they I'm impressed because they swung for the fences to get somebody who's so iconic in that style of martial arts to come back and do that, so that's what I think a lot of maybe people who aren't as familiar with this genre film might not have recognized. And I you can tell this was it's like Marvel's homage to like the martial arts genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
You can
It's nice to
appreciate
see.
that.
Obviously,
Storyline wise, I mean, semi predictable, of course, as are all Marvel films, but that's okay because we've come to expect that, and it is very formulaic because one could argue that a lot of elements of the storyline is very similar to Black Panther. So as far as like villain motives, he's a villain that you have like you,
I
you
mean,
hope you can be redeemed, you
we
have
will
sympathy
continue
from.
to find parallels in every
Exactly. You
Marvel
will
movie we
you will
see.
you feel
yeah.
like you can like you feel sympathetic towards him because he has like a legitimate like his heart is in the right place kind of, but it's just like he's misguided, right? And isn't that the same thing with like Black Panther, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into. Yeah.
I, yes, I liked it as well. I had a few things working against me. I was too concerned with the. I didn't enjoy it. I don't think as much as you guys, but that was because of a couple of reasons. One, I was too concerned about the big picture. I was too excited about where this is going, what's going to happen, what is this leading to, big universe style wise, and I wasn't enjoying the ride as much as I should have been, and too busy looking on the horizon. Um, I also, as you two know, not everyone listening may knows, I was addicted to weed hardcore, and I smoked weed before watching every movie. I dare say I might have enjoyed it more high, but I don't know. And so that also was working against me. It was good. I the beginning was interesting. It was just so like low key, and it was just about these two friends just like kind of like messing around, like being valets, and it was just kind of like a nice. I was into that. I would have watched that movie, honestly. Just
You
these
did.
two,
You
I
did.
mean, yeah,
Give them
like
a
well, just
spinoff.
yeah, just well, not even like, but like not even in a Marvel universe is what I'm saying. I would have
Mm-hmm.
watched the movie of just them, these two buddies, like being valets in San Francisco. Is that where it was?
Yeah, San
And
Francisco.
Yeah.
and I was into that, and I liked that kind of like back to your roots, like organic style storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bus scene hit, and I was like, wow, like this, like there was some really impressive choreography, some really cool stuff. I mean, yeah, it got a little marvelous with the bus crash and the craziness, but I was still like, this is really cool. And
Hmm.
as it started so simple and organically, and by the end was might as well have had a giant sky beam with the CGI battle. And just by the end, it was
And it
just
was a
so.
giant CGI battle.
I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
it was just very bogged down by the grand scheme of things comparatively to the beginning, which just felt so like bare bones what mattered as opposed to lots of dressing at the end. And that, I mean, again, very concerned about. I was thinking about how is he, how do these rings even work? How does that even, they don't explain that at all, but it's clear that that's a major plot point in future movies after seeing the initial post credit scene, which was exciting to see.
Hmm.
Yeah, there were
I,
two.
yeah, I mean, God, that first one scene, I mean, obviously my biggest takeaway as a Hulk fan was seeing Bruce Banner in Bruce Banner form and
What
thinking to
that
myself,
means.
maybe we could see the actual big green dude again one day. But yes, overall, a step in the right direction, and kind of exciting in that we were seeing like the birth of a new like legend in Shang-Chi. Like he's gonna be like fun to see in future Marvel movies, and his dynamic within groups and just his overall style of fighting is still fun to watch. Like,
Hmm.
and the rings they're a little crazy sometimes, but they're I think still very fun to watch, and it'll be interesting to see how his fighting style and mastery of the rings incorporates into fighting other villains, and that is an exciting prospect for me as
Yeah.
well.
I do like that a lot of his scenes, his action scenes, there was no superpower. It
Yeah.
kept it a very raw, very, maybe not relatable, but like something along those lines. Where like, oh, it's a guy who knows martial arts. You know what I mean? Kind of like how Hawkeye's a guy with an arrow, bow and arrow.
Hmm.
Like he's not over the top billionaire. He's not a god
Hmm.
of thunder. He's a person. He's a human being, and that kind of made it real nice. I do like where they're going with it, and what they're going to do with the rings and how it'll incorporate. You've seen kind of how it'll incorporate into his fighting style, which like just that little bit at the end when he's like fighting his dad, and then he's fucking up the demon.
Whatever
I
it's
don't
called,
I don't even
demon
know.
thing.
Not
Yeah, I
very
can't
well
I
explained,
can't
but
remember
yeah.
what it was. The generic CGI blob thing.
Yeah.
That
It's like
was
Raya and the
cool.
Last Dragon.
Yeah. It was cool to see him use them in a way that we hadn't seen his father use them. So it kind of separated. Too many times you'll see, this type of character where, someone's in training to learn how to fight like someone else, and then it's just a carbon copy, and the two of them have a generic back and forth with the same move being used left and right. It's like picking the same character in Tekken. You're like, this is entertaining, but it gets boring. And then this one, you got to see, you know, a little bit more complexity being used with the rings, and martial arts being used with them and everything. So it was cool to see that, and kind of still be able to differentiate the character's fighting style even when he was using the same weapon as the other person. So that was cool. Um, yeah,
We're
I,
gonna see
I
so
was
many
gonna
more movies
say
of that.
yeah, yeah,
I was gonna say like when Dan brought up like the bigger picture of where it all fits in. It's very interesting that they put him in San Francisco because I was like, Dan, you know who else is in San Francisco, right?
I forget. Tell me.
Ant-Man.
oh yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
And
Alright.
Agent Woo is there too, technically, I guess, kind of like
Whoa.
Yep,
woo woo
Darcy
woo.
might
Like,
show
oh
up
my
there at
god, could
some
you
point.
see a show where it's Agent Woo and like Ant-Man and like Aquafina and freaking
I
Shang-Chi,
just
like all in like San Francisco doing some weird like
Hey,
the
dude, more Woo.
shenanigans.
don't discount Darcy. She was with Wu at the end
That's
of
true.
WandaVision,
Darcy,
so
like the
I vote for
shenanigans, magic, magic,
dude,
like
I
just
love Woo
goofy
and
things
Darcy.
going on in that town because it's like, and San Francisco obviously because it's got a huge Asian culture in it.
also true. I
I
was
I
just in
hope
San Francisco.
I hope Woo is like the new Agent Coulson. I hope he just starts showing up in like all the
Oh
movies
yeah.
because he's just so freaking likable and good for business.
Well, he's going to be around for a while because they're not going to give him the Joss Whedon treatment and kill him like he does all his fucking characters.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm yelling.
that'll be nice. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, yeah, that whole thing. I don't know. I thought that was okay. I thought that was like a little. I think that worked for that movie, even though they brought him back to life in a show.
That's not
but,
canon.
That's not canon. That the words any nerd hates to mutter. That's not canon. Yeah.
Some nerd gets off on it, just correcting people.
Oh no, it could all
canon.
everything is canon now with the multiverse. I would say everything's canon.
Oh,
it's all open game.
They officially said
It's
no.
all game.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon.
Whatever. No, the multiverse makes everything possible, dude.
Right. They can totally backtrack on that in like 5 years.
That doesn't mean anything. Like, and also, not to mention, I mean, this is another thing. I don't know if we want to get to it, but like the announcement, like that, like they're gonna find a way to bring all those Daredevil characters back from Netflix.
I found a way to bring
some version of it, similar storyline, but it's like an alternate reality. So it means that everything is open game, dude. Like they're willing to do that for Daredevil. Of all things, they chose Daredevil, and that means that for sure Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if they ever wanted to bring characters in from that, they could, because like they own that whole right.
Yeah, but
it's not like some stuff they got to work out with Netflix.
Bringing Punisher back is great. Bringing Daredevil back is great.
Yeah, Jessica.
Luke Cage, fine. But then, does anyone want Iron Fist back?
No, I don't care. No. But he'll show up as a side character maybe with Shang-Chi or something. I don't know.
Back.
I mean,
Jessica Jones is the one I want back the most, honestly.
Literally everybody except that Iron Fist.
He's fine. He could be on other people's show as Luke Cage with Luke Cage. They're supposed to be on the same show together anyway.
That one episode where he showed up in Luke Cage's show was like 10 times better than anything he was in any of the Defenders or his own show.
I mean,
so
I read some good runs of Iron Fist, and he's an interesting character. He really is, to the depth of it. He has some really cool upbringing and background and like history, and they didn't do it justice, and the fight was horrible.
Him and Shang-Chi should throw down. Let's see it. I want to see it.
They have in the comics, I believe.
I know, so they should do it on screen. Let's see.
Just not that actor. Somebody else. Just reboot that.
It's awkward that you're bringing back other characters though in that universe, and then to recast like one that's a rough spot for them to be in. So I don't know.
Here's my pitch. The two of them get taken to an alternate dimension to compete as a team in a martial arts tournament.
I mean,
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Let's be honest.
They both get entered into a martial arts tournament. They got to try to save, and then at the very end, it's like they have to face off each other before the finals, and it's like to the death, and they have to like fake one of the deaths in order to like advance. It's a whole story.
Sounds like Dragon Ball Z, Bloodsport, like name like 17 movies, and they're all exactly that same story. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they only brought over Daredevil cast and Punisher.
I mean,
oh god, that is not
freaking Jessica from True Blood.
Oh right, I really hope they bring over Jessica Jones. She was.
Jessica Jones,
arguably the best in terms of embodiment of character.
Agree.
I don't know. So
yeah,
Jessica Jones is my favorite out of the four.
Mine is Daredevil. I think Charlie Cox.
Great job too.
Fantastic. I think the whole writing on the first and third season of Daredevil were excellent, because when you start watching the second season and you realize there's no Wilson Fisk, you're like, I almost already just don't give a shit. Like without Vincent D'Onofrio. Charlie Cox, Daredevil, the character was still interesting. It's just, and his character development was cool. I just was like, cool. This is what centered around Elektra.
For sure, Kingpin's gonna be. I mean, I think the two main characters they want to bring is Daredevil and Kingpin. The other guys, like the other people working at the office and the other side characters from that is like questionable. But I know for sure it's because they need Kingpin. They want Kingpin in the series, which is like the smartest move. And it's like, how do you bring in Kingpin without Daredevil, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I've said this to Tim before. I think in all Marvel anything, non-MCU, MCU, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk is the best villain out of anybody.
Great casting.
He is so good.
Plays a fucking psycho.
it's such a calculating, and it's like you can sometimes tell exactly what he's thinking, and sometimes you can't tell anything, and he is complicated. He is so good, and I am excited to have him come to the MCU.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I can see. I hope he could, play a bigger role in the whole thing.
I hope so too.
Just more, whatever. The more screen time for him, the better. For
Yeah.
everyone.
So, all right. Speaking of multiverse stuff and what we want to do, we're going to shift a little bit here. There's an obvious connection, but I'm going to wait because I really want to build to that one. I'm going to go to What If. I think that kind of ties in here because there are some implications from that going forward I think we can talk about. So I was going to originally do, did we talk about the first episode? Either way.
We talked about at least up to I think we didn't talk about the zombie one, right?
Okay, I mean, we'll recap them all, but What If has finished. There were 9 episodes. Overall impression for me, I enjoyed it. I did. I think it was a little lacking of substance in the middle, or sustenance a little bit in the middle. I think it started real strong, and then the rest was good, but I just kept wanting more Agent Carter or Captain Carter, and like I wasn't getting that, and so it just kind of pulled away from the rest of the stories because that was like one of the more heart-wrenching, touching moments that they had was, it's now Peggy who is at a loss of Steve instead of the other way around, and I think it kind of it hit people a little bit more than it did when Steve lost Peggy. You know what I mean? You're like, oh no, another white guy. No,
I don't know, not me.
but and then what the hell was the second one?
It was T'Challa.
Yeah, it was T'Challa.
Yeah.
Star-Lord.
That was a good one.
We talked about that.
I enjoyed it. And then we had zombies after that. Was that the third one?
Zombies was the fifth one.
What the hell are we missing?
Let's get something going here.
But yeah,
I would say I'm okay with the pacing of it. Actually, I feel like the thing is it started off on a great hit, and that Captain Carter was such a great story. But also, I think in the middle, I'm okay with the middle ones being the way they were as tone wise, because
the third one, what if the world lost its mightiest heroes?
That one was interesting.
It was for sure.
It gets kind of dark after that. That was the one that starts getting kind of really dark, and you're like, holy shit! I can't believe how close we were to averting disaster, right?
It's like what are we here to be excited about at this point? Nick Fury throwing down, and then it's Doctor Strange lost his heart.
I like that one.
I think Doctor Strange is my personal favorite.
Heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, but it is extremely well done, and
very well done.
I think it kind of, and it's nice to see. I mean, obviously, there are different power tiers for people, but it's so interesting to see that if Strange was inclined, he could descend down the darkest of paths. This is literally, I mean, what path is darker than this? I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah, this is as bad as it gets for him.
But I mean, he literally destroyed it all in the name of love. And that's a beautiful.
It's a heartbreaking story.
Maybe it's a little cheesy. I don't think so. I thought it was fantastic.
Calm down, Meatloaf.
I'm a fan of Cumberbatch and the character, and I think he did it justice. And I think
great job.
This is a nice little peer, and I think that because of this, I kind of hope that they explore the relationship with him and
Rachel,
whatever her name is. Yeah,
Rachel.
Him and his love interest a little more, because God, I mean, without it, he was undone entirely, and I never really got that sense in the movie.
No.
But
then you think about it, she was there for him right after the accident, right?
Yeah, even when they weren't together, right?
Even when they weren't together, she was always there. She was his best friend, and then after the accident, it looks like she was trying to save him for God knows how long, until he finally went off the edge and disappeared.
So I hope that's acknowledged a little more in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie.
Seems like it will be. I hope so. Yeah.
And then so we got that, and then zombies, which I mean,
Zombies.
I
That
So
one was
good.
interesting.
I liked it.
It's comedy.
Yeah.
of course, seeing Spider-Man being like the last bastion is you gotta love
It
it.
was their take on Shaun of the Dead, kind of. Because it had,
Well,
do you know
no,
what I'm
they
saying? Like
have-
tone wise, it was very similar to Shaun of the Dead. It was a comedy, but
Yeah.
because zombies, if you don't take zombies into a comedy form, it becomes The Walking Dead, which like whatever, we've all seen that. So like they
Right.
chose to go the comedy route, which was like the Shaun of the Dead route, which was like, yeah, there were sad places, and yes, it's gruesome and whatever, but like the tone overwise is lighter because of, hey guys, I'm Spider-Man, your friendly neighbor. Like, yeah, ha, like, you know.
I'm like, it's like, I know you're cheating, but I don't care. I love it. Like
until the end, until the twist of the episode, and then it got kind of intense.
yeah, that was, but it was good. And
Shaun of the
you know,
Dead's like that too, dude. Like that.
as I've said to George, once you get past the whole like zombie Avengers can just all of a sudden use their powers like they're alive, which I have a hard
Yeah.
time getting past. I'll be honest. It was good stuff, and the ending was intense, and I think the quality held up. And I think it was probably fans of the zombie, MCU characters were excited to see.
Yeah, it's funny.
Guessing. Go ahead.
I like that there was a payoff that they did eventually come back, that they didn't just leave the zombie, because like you were like, what's gonna happen? Like
Yeah.
they went back,
Well,
like
so
when they assembled, I guess
here-
everybody, they went back
here
to
was
everyone
my-
but that one, right?
Here was my big issue of the whole thing, which kind of it fixed it, but it was each episode they had an ending problem, in my opinion. They didn't really tell us a whole story. Each
That's the
episode
point,
they
though.
No, but not real. Why?
That's the
Why?
point.
Why?
Is because all
Have
those.
you read an episode or read a thing? They're self-contained stories. There
That's
was
the,
no.
but
like,
for them, that was the
just
point. Is
sort of-
because they went back and assembled a team from each
Right,
universe,
but
and
not
they were
knowing
showing
that they
you
were gonna do
where
that.
they were being plucked away from their each
Oh.
universe at what point in the story. Because if you watch the very end of this last
Yeah.
episode, they kind of pay it off a little and do a nod, and it's also because then there's the chance for future like solo episodes about those universes, and you can always go back and finish those stories. It's not I don't think the
why
whole
not just
point was
tell
to
us the
finish the story.
story?
I feel like the point was to like, yo, there's these many storylines that we could go with, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna next season, we're gonna tell you more about what finished off with these other people. We only saw a small glimpse of like how each person's story was about to end at the end of this
then
last
don't-
episode.
Unless they were like, honestly, I didn't think they were gonna do the whole everybody comes together at the end. Like I
What?
didn't piece all of it together. I didn't. So
What?
for me, watching all of this, it was like, cool.
You
these are basically
you
like,
didn't hear
wait,
a single thing about the Guardians of the Multiverse?
We like going through this. They seemed more like teasers than episodes. They're like,
Oh.
here's 15 minutes, 20 minutes of like things we might tell you in the future. And I'm like, cool. Like, I don't, tell me a story. Give me an episode, a full beginning, middle, and end. And some of them had some that kind of wrapped up a little bit, and like leaving things open to interpretation. That's one thing. But like some of them just kind of were like, and it's over. And you're like, what? Like, that's literally it's like mid-sentence. It's like the end of Sopranos for one of them. I can't remember which one. We're like, oh yeah, and so, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
I mean,
But they did bring
yeah.
it back together at the end, and
Yeah,
it
that was
made
the whole
more
point,
sense
though.
there.
Right.
But like
That they were going to bring it back together. I'm like okay with
I
it.
can see how you can lose viewers if they're not super invested and do the research and figure out where they're going. People are going to be like, oh well, cool, fine. Some people lose. They're not concerned about that because they've got $75 billion.
Look,
But like,
it's Marvel, man. If you don't think that on some level they're gonna tie something together at some point,
Yeah.
you're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, like I didn't think it was gonna be this.
Yeah.
But I thought, I mean, there's no way they would tease us like that and not follow through at some point. Maybe not. Maybe there's gonna be future seasons of this show that they'd follow through on, which I was fine with. But for me, it was a nice, though slightly awkward and unexpected assembling of this team. it was you're not. I was excited. I mean, I would have picked other people.
Me
Probably.
too.
But regardless, I think the whole thing was the Watcher was kind of knew how it was going to play out, and so he picked his team based on what would happen.
Mhm.
So that was fascinating. Okay, so what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark?
Not my favorite episode.
It's to
I
set
actually
up his
thought
character.
I actually thought the writing was really well done,
Yeah.
but for me, something about it was kind of like they were speeding through it. Killmonger and so many of the people were talking in the same monotone throughout the entire episode, and almost no like strong emotion was showed one way or the other.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something I noticed early, and it did not change, especially as shit got more intense. It was just kind of like, Killmonger practically narrating of why these things should happen, and I'm just kind of like, okay, it's a good show me some emotion, man. I thought it was an interesting story. I thought the story was cool and it was fun to see. And obviously, this was one of the ones that was teased prior to the show's release, and it was good to see play out. I don't know if it lived up to what our expectations might have been,
Yeah, it
but
didn't go where I
It's
anticipated it going.
it's more to set up
Yeah.
his story for the end than
Right, that
anything
makes
else.
sense. But it was interesting. I mean, I think from my perspective, I kind of always thought that, an alternate version of Killmonger might be not such a bad guy.
Yeah, actually, that's
You
what I
know,
thought too. That Tony could
and
influence him to be a good guy.
right, and based
Wrong
on
person to
them,
influence him.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. But based on this episode, I mean, he not only solidifies his antagonist role in this episode, he does again at the end, and it's an interesting, because I think he was a good villain in that we sympathize with him, and that the way he went about it, you can argue, but his reasons behind it made sense, and he kind of, for me, went off the deep end in terms of reasoning and logic from this episode moving forward. I kind of that's one of my favorite things about him was that, like, he more or less kind of, I mean, you could, his decisions of what he wanted to do as king of Wakanda in Black Panther, you could kind of start to see his descent a little bit, but there was still the underlying reasoning of he wanted to help.
He wanted
And
to do
in
the right thing,
Right, and this he just kind of he went way beyond that,
Yeah.
and that was a little heartbreaking, I guess, to
Mhm.
see, because I've always held Killmonger as one of the better
Well, but that's
villains, and I understand that he's the villain and stuff, but I guess I thought I had more sympathy for him
well,
before.
but that's the point, though. Is it's not the same one. This is what
Right.
happens when he
Right.
has the wrong influence around him, and so this one I feel is a bit more. Well, I guess this one and like Strange are more like talking about like societal influences and like things around you and how much you should kind of look at like your surroundings and who you choose to have in your life and how well things can go or how bad things can go based on the decisions you make. Whereas like
Yeah.
Marvel Zombies is just fun zombies. You're like, cool. And then what if Thor were an only child? You're like, he's a party animal.
And
like
I'm okay with
that was my least
like
favorite.
what's the one after this?
It was as
Thor.
I like to call it. It's actually alternate title National Lampoon's Thor Odinson.
Okay, it's fine because I feel like it went more action, right? So it's like the pacing of the show. It went action, action, really dark, not really dark, but dark, and then like really dark, and then like, oh, okay, dark, and then like finally
Lighten
like
it
there was
up
like
a
a
little.
light tone episode kind of. So I was okay with that.
Yeah,
Like, because it's like it like every episode, especially after the Doctor Strange episode, I was like, are these all just gonna get darker and sadder as it goes on? Because this is fucking depressing, dude. Fucking Tony dies, and Tony up to this point had not survived a single one of these episodes. He dies in every single episode he's in
until the last episode. But fun fact, there was an episode that they pitched that was designed around Spiderman that got denied because it was too dark.
Yeah.
Like you look at like
I'd kill to see that.
you look at like Doctor Strange and the what if the world lost its mightiest heroes? Like those two are arguably the darker of all the episodes, especially the Strange one. That one went in some
Dark.
places.
Yep.
But like I think it was like, oh man, I don't even remember, but it might have been like more of like a Man Spider type episode where what if he turned into, Man Spider instead? And
Oh my God.
it was like I don't have all the details, but like that just kind of shows they were like, okay, there's a line, but like they didn't.
Probably like
So
a Marvel version of The Fly with fucking
pretty much. I mean, he turned
yeah.
episode issue 100. He
Jeff Goldblum.
he did something. I don't remember what he took, but he started to grow extra hands or arms out of his body, and then starting after that, he did turn into Man Spider because
I remember
he was
the
trying.
TV
I think
show.
it was Doc Connors or something like that. Yeah, it was. I have
Dark
some of those.
storyline for that from
Those,
the
and they're excellent.
original cartoon that we used to watch as kids. I
Yeah,
remember that. It was a big storyline.
it was a good one. So I feel like what if Thor were an only child was the like, here, let's just lighten things up a little bit.
And watch that fight that we got teased, dude. The tease of like that face off from Endgame when Cap and Captain Marvel and Thor looked at each other and did the stare down, and you were like, that'd be interesting to see. Where like Cap, like Marvel's like power is that she soaks damage like no tomorrow. Like you could just throw every single, like she just absorbs it. Like literally, like whatever you throw at me, I'm just gonna suck it all up and throw it back at you. And like it's good to, and then Thor, who has this like unlimited amount of like energy, especially this party Thor, it seems like has even more like, more down to fight even more if that was ever possible. And to see the two of them throw down two probably of the stronger heroes we know of in the MCU, just like no holds bar throw down, was very entertaining, because I think it probably was like a good lead up to being like, yo, listen up, we chose to do these stories in a cartoon version because if we had to pay for real life CGI, this would never get like paid for. Like
was
that the only one rooting for Thor? Like
I don't know.
I don't know.
It did seem like they nerfed her a little bit for this, which I'm like, you needed to, because she just pretty much
she could blow up the earth if she wanted to.
White House.
She is gonna be nerfed for her movie. She has to be.
Well, it's not gonna be her movie.
I mean, sure, but then she's barely gonna be in it, because the Captain Marvel effect, dude. Like you write yourself into a corner every time. You either have to nerf her or have her not be there and show up at very particular times.
I think they're gonna kill her.
Oh well, that's probably honestly the best thing,
because Monica Rambeau, she actually dons the Miss Marvel, the Captain Marvel moniker.
That's why it's called. That's why
Captain
the next
Marvel.
one is going to be called The Marvels,
Marvel.
is because they're going to introduce what's her name, Miss Marvel, also from the TV show, is going to show up too. It's all set.
So then the ending of Thor Were an Only Child was really the only. It was like they tacked on an end credit scene. Actually, that was an end credit scene, I believe, where Ultron shows up.
It's funny because you could say in like a theater or a TV show kind of way, is that like a narrator like the Watcher is the ultimate quote unquote break into the fourth wall, because he's literally narrating the story and talking to us, the audience, right? And what's interesting about the way that episode ended, and as the gradual progression of how he started telling the story, was like he blurred the lines between like our reality and his reality of him talking to us and all that. And that was the one where you're like, he totally breaks the fourth wall in that, and even more so because he's just like, whoa, wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like Ultron's not supposed to show up here. Like it was even more of a situation where that was like final. If you think about all the episodes as him cracking the fourth wall and it's a glass pane, that's the one where he like smashed it and was like, whoa, wait a minute, okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, and that's when you were like, okay, now we hit the point where it's like, this is the part, like the rest of the episodes are all just one big, like, ending climax to it's the payoff for all these other episodes. So I really enjoyed that ending.
Yeah. And then you've got What If Ultron Won, which I enjoyed that episode quite thoroughly.
You think it's enough to say it's his redemption in the MCU because Ultron has such a shitty reviews in general as far as like
probably
bad villains? Like he's considered one of the worst ones, right? Like
they did do him dirty because he was
a
much more powerful villain in the comics and everything.
You know who was done dirty, which I am not fully over, was Thanos in this episode. Sorry, but
no, I loved it.
Are you kidding me? Thanos
Loved
with
it.
Mellow Thanos, you mean?
Thanos with 5 Infinity Stones gets pwned in one move.
Uh-oh.
But by Ultron. Are you kidding me?
He wasn't ready for it.
Dude, I mean...
They're not... there's no active... It's not like a... what's it called? Like
I'd rather watch a freaking Goldberg match, dude. Like, at least there's more action in those. Like, this is like, give me something. Give me a little bit of a battle. Like, that was a huge disservice to Thanos. One of the most...
I don't think so.
Are you kidding me? 5
he had his service.
Versus 1? Yeah, but like, give me a battle. Like, this is one of the biggest badasses in the galaxy, if not the biggest badass, and he gets pwned in a single move by Ultron. Sorry, dude. No.
And I think we're gonna come to see that Thanos was not as big a deal as he was made out to be. I think it's gonna see that there's much more intense things in this world than Thanos.
The thing is,
Wade Wilson to pop in just to say that's just lazy writing.
That's fine.
I mean, come on. I guess they had shit to do, but like, give me a reason as to why he did that so easily. At least.
I mean, there's no, they don't give off like a shield or a power. He has to activate all of them, and if you don't see a person physically move, very, very, very hard to anticipate something happening. So it's just like, oh, this can split him in half. You forget that the Mind Stone is an Infinity Stone. So it's not that he just got destroyed by a robot. He got destroyed by an Infinity Stone. So it's not like this is one of the most powerful things on the planet. Yes, the other guy has 5 of them, but he didn't use them. He wasn't given the opportunity.
It's too slow on the draw, Thanos.
It made Ultron more calculated because he didn't sit there and monologue and let the guy talk and build time, and then there's a fight. Thanos talked. Thanos was a classic talker, monologuing, telling you everything that's going to happen. Villain. This guy was just like, I have one purpose. This is it. You're dead. Like
it's a machine efficiency to it.
I don't understand why. I mean, I feel like this is the first time Thanos been disserviced in this multiverse. I mean, not that like he was disserviced, but just like that I feel like he's a bigger threat in many more universe. At least that's my instinct, is he would be a bigger threat in many universes. And it seems like he's a fucking puppy in like some of these other universes. Like in the T'Challa one, he's just like one of the good old boys, just convinced super easily that, that this is what you should do. And I'm just kind of like, what? This guy,
I thought it was fine.
I went along with it because it was kind of funny to see, but like, this is like one of the most driven people in any given universe, and he's just, I don't know, been pwned either by writing or lazy writing, I guess is my.
I'm okay with that. I've had enough of Thanos
I just feel like what I would probably say is, I think overall in the movies, the best villain. I feel like he's been done a great disservice. I mean, you can't. Who's a better villain than him? I don't think anyone. And then
but I mean,
not only have him be the best villain, have him be the villain for like all of these movies, to just kind of like.
I think that's the whole point. I think the whole point is just to point out that like we're just like, they're like moving on. They're like, that's why they're like, we're done with Thanos.
Yeah, but like, remind me why he was such a big threat in the first place. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Actually, what? Okay, this is actually interesting. You know what it is, actually, Dan? Like, I'll tell you the reason why. The reminding part is missing is because they took out the Tony Stark episode with Gamora. And I'm pretty sure supposed to fight Thanos in that episode.
Well, I don't
know. Thanos as a quote-unquote big bad guy, I think was going to be the Tony Stark episode with him and Gamora. And that's the episode that's missing that they're saving for next season. And that might be
weird at the end.
Yeah, it's because they ran out of time due to the pandemic.
What? I mean, they made the episode. They had to have.
No, I mean, they ran out of time for the pandemic, so they decided to cut it and put it in for next year.
Yeah, but it kind of made her being there. It didn't make any sense.
I know.
Because
That's the choice they decided to do, dude. I mean, what are you gonna do? Like,
they made the episode, or it's mostly done. At least.
Yeah, and they chose to, instead of delaying the release of that series, they chose to release it on the schedule that they said they were going to, and I'm sure the bean counters made their voices heard, and that's how it works in a big multi-billion-dollar corporation like Disney. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't blame it on the people. You can't blame it on the people making the show. It's not the people making the show. Like it's somebody up there above them who made that call. So
Kevin made that call. Feige.
Yeah.
I like that
I said all that to say that I ultimately really enjoyed the last 2 episodes, and I thought they were great. And saying that breaking the fourth wall was fantastic and right up my alley.
Watcher and Ultron Throwdown was fucking crazy.
That was insane.
That was great.
It pays off that intro, that breaking glass intro of every single episode, and all the different panes of glass and stuff like that. I really love the payoff of it, because it's like literally that's what the whole show was like. They were going through different dimensions and the glasses breaking through all the different dimensions. And there's that one Steve Rogers getting sworn in as president of the United States. Oh god! Yeah. Oh god! Oh my god! Steve Rogers.
We've had President Rogers and presidential candidate Loki as well, which I thought was
just crazy,
which was classy. I do like the last episode. I like the way it was told. I like the action. I think it really did tie everything together very nicely. It was weird when Gamora showed up. I was like, oh, but I did like when he was like, not you, Stark. And I was like, yeah, good. Fuck Tony. But I mean, the action was fantastic. I like the way they brought Natasha back in. I honestly was like, wait a second here. Are they bringing back Scarlett Johansson?
Right. I thought they were
like,
I was like,
please don't do that. Like you just slapped her in the face, and now you're gonna be like, sorry, and put her back into the fucking thing. Yeah, they did. No, not just that, but just like I don't think the timing of the movie, like there's a whole much more than just like their little dispute, which I'm glad she won or came to an agreement with at least. But like it just was like you want to talk about disservice? She got the biggest disservice of every character on the entire roster.
Pretty close.
Yeah, but I thought they were gonna do that. I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I was like, we just need to move on from most of the original cast. I think obviously we're gonna have, Thor is gonna be in it for a little bit longer, and Hawkeye. I don't know what's gonna happen with his show, which is soon. I think
that's next. It's
December.
Christmas time.
It's in
the
December.
Christmas time show.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Okay. All of that was great. We loved it. I love what the implications that these characters might have some effect on the story going forward in the major MCU. I like that. I think that's cool. I want to talk a little bit about something else that's going to have, if not the largest effect on the forthcoming phases of the movies, is Spider-Man. We finally got a Spider-Man trailer a week ago. We're a little late to the game on this one, and holy shit! Holy shit! Man, I don't even. There's so much that happened in this trailer. There was so much fan speculation about who all these people are. Oh my god, there's a cameo. Oh, Easter egg. But like half of them aren't true. They've been debunked, because what happened was everybody thought that the person coming into the interrogation room and putting the files down on the table was Charlie Cox, was Daredevil. It is not. They showed a clip of it. They showed the trailer in IMAX, and it expanded the ratio, and you could see who that person was, and it is just some schmuck, some guy who arrested him and is coming in to talk shit. So I'm debunking that right now. I honestly, so you see pumpkin bombs, you blatantly see Doc Ock, because why not? He spoiled the whole fucking thing for everybody.
I got out in front of it.
Right, you get this storyline that was told that, honest to God, wasn't the best storyline in the world. It took place late 90s, no, maybe in the 2000s, mid 2000s, and maybe 2010 somewhere as well, where Peter, after the Civil War, kind of unmasked himself in the comic books, and all these death threats and all this sort of shit started happening. The obvious started happening, and he was like, "Holy fuck, I need this to stop." Aunt May is dying, and Mary Jane is being threatened, and all this stuff. So he goes to I'm just saying this is what happened in the comic books. He went to the biggest troll that the internet created, that Marvel did not, but the internet created the biggest trolling of themselves in Mephisto appearing in WandaVision. He was the original person who made this deal with Peter to get everyone to forget who he was. So he saved Aunt May's life, but him and MJ weren't married after that point because nobody like erased a huge chunk of history, and it kept coming up in comic books where people would be like, yeah, wait, something did happen then. What the hell? Why don't I remember that? But like it was done real well, where it wasn't just like this looming, I lost 10 years of my life type of thing. But there's just like little stuff that kind of happened. So that's when I first saw this, I was like, they cannot be doing Mephisto because they didn't if there wasn't fanboys and nerds screaming Mephisto during WandaVision, only comic book nerds would be screaming Mephisto right now, but other people are going to be screaming it as well because of what happened with WandaVision. But the way we see it is we see Doctor Strange doing a spell, which very excited to see that those two are together again. It's just going to be
Well,
a
we're
fun
using our real names
rapport. Yeah, like it's going to be interesting to see these
That
two.
felt weird.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
like,
using our real
so
names
great.
now. Okay.
Oh,
I'm Peter.
Steven. That feel weird, but I'll allow it. And it's just like I'm excited for these two when they were doing
Mr.
press
Doctor.
tour, right? When they were doing press tours together, it's always so entertaining and charming to see them kind of like banter. So I'm excited for that. What are we getting? Are we getting the Sinister Six? Are we not? Are we just getting glimpses of these people appearing? I mean, he said, "Hello, Peter." Doc Ock said, "Hello, Peter." So, like, is he talking to Andrew? Is he talking to
gotta be.
Toby?
He's gotta
Is he
be.
talking to whatever? Now, rumors I've heard two things. Is and someone interviewed Andrew Garfield, and he was like, "Nah, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. I would know if I'm in the movie." Like, blah blah blah.
Actor
They
though.
interviewed Toby, and they were like, "Yeah, go check out Spider-Man, like coming to theaters in December. It'll be fun." And I'm just like, is this another celebrity who just was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm in the movie"? Like, did he just drop a bomb?
Oh, did he?
It's a small story. He didn't officially say, "Yes, I am in Spider-Man," but it was like he was casually talking to someone. It wasn't an interview. It was just kind of a casual conversation with somebody. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with people? So I don't know if that's true or not. Honestly, I weirdly don't want them to be in the movie because because it's too obvious. Like, I know I'm always complaining about them not doing the things that the fans want and the obvious things, but for the love of God, like,
It's so funny.
it's so just like it's the worst if they are in this movie, and it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Like, anybody who is pretending to keep a secret is joking themselves. They're kidding themselves because you're giving us the Spider-Verse. We've confirmed that there's villains from the other movies that are in this. So, like, I don't know.
I mean, it's happening.
I know. I'm still
Tim's always like, it's not confirmed. It's not confirmed.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really care.
I don't want
what Marvel
it's
does,
happening.
dude. They do it on purpose.
I've come to live with that quote unquote spoiler part about like Marvel films and films in general. Yeah. So like I'm okay with it. It's like you ever want to watch a trailer? It's like if you don't care, if you're like so upset about getting spoiled, then you should just not watch any like trailers, and go on social media, or like just live in your little hermit little shack and never come out until it's time.
Dude, like, how is that possible?
I have a friend who does
everywhere
that.
now. That's
Yeah,
he must work very
that's
hard
just
at that.
modern life.
He does.
That I've come to live with. So I don't.
I mean, right? You know,
I don't
like,
get upset about
wait,
it.
why is there a Spider-Man movie after
I don't think
Infinity
he's-
War if he died? Like, because he fucking comes back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the reality we live in. They need to market things and need to get people hyped for it. And right. And I'm with you, George. I've accepted that as well.
You gotta accept it, or you don't go on with your life. You know, like
right. And I mean, you know, when you in terms of like you know, Toby possibly casually saying go see Spider-Man, I mean, all I can think of is that both him and Alfred Molina were brought up in a time when that discretion wasn't needed. It was promotion. And maybe, you know, maybe they didn't. I mean, it would seem that it was, you know, I think maybe there was some overlook on, you know, a lot of Marvel execs thinking, okay, people know now, not like they've heard enough about Tom Holland accidentally leaking shit that people know to keep shit, you know, close to the chest. And maybe they didn't have a conversation with them, and the Alfred Molina thing blatantly happened, and this far more low key thing happened with with Tobey Maguire. But at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Like, we're gonna see something.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I'll still enjoy it.
That we never thought we would probably see. I didn't think I'd ever see. Certainly, the MCU has tripled in power, you know, and they can just do these things. And the multiverse has
Thank you,
opened
Sylvie
the door
and Loki.
yeah, has opened the door.
Thank you, Sylvie. We love you.
Yeah, well, sure. Thank you, Sylvie, for unleashing untold evils upon the galaxy.
Yeah.
But also thank you, Sylvie, for unleashing.
Like she made it all possible for everything.
So
anything's open
now. I mean, this is like a writer's dream. It's like you can find your, I mean, Marvel execs aside, you can be sitting down and saying, literally, what if we did this? And that, as a viewer, thinking anything could happen is exciting. Granted, there is not a lot at this point that we might be surprised by for this Spider-Man movie. I think we've got a pretty good idea of what is going to happen for the most part. We're either going to get the Sinister Six, or we're not. We're going to, at the very least, get Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, who knows. And that's awesome. I mean, this movie.
You know what I'm hoping for? Secretly, Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen with Emma Stone.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool.
Not gonna. I think it's going a little too far, but
what we call wishful thinking. But
Spider-Gwen.
You can't rule anything out.
I know
Anything could happen, and
this is interesting. Especially with Loki and like gender bender stuff, and like, you know, like the multiverse. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see all these alternate versions of the, you know, same thing with Captain Marvel. Like, I think if anyone is not Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, if anyone from the, you know, multiverse of stories is going to show up IRL, it's going to be Captain Carter. Like,
well, it would be so great.
There's no better choice. Like, Haley Atwell has been in so many. She's the perfect candidate. Do you know what I'm saying? For them to take from the multiverse of stories and bring it into the like film MCU. Like, it makes sense.
I do want to put something out there, and I kind of talked to Tim about this, and Tim was reticent to reveal stuff to me because because he knows more than I do in the stories. But he did talk about Mephisto.
Gonna ruin your life, boy.
This Doctor Strange just willy-nilly going along with this clearly reckless spell. I'm sorry. Like, what? Something else is going on here.
Something else is going on. That's okay. We'll find out, right?
I don't think that's Doctor Strange.
And that was my point earlier, even though I didn't want to spoil it, and then I spoiled it anyway. Fuck you.
I mean, is it Mephisto? I don't think so, but something else is clearly going on. We see at multiple points what could be viewed as Spider-Man fighting Doctor Strange.
We do?
And I mean, there's one blatant one where they're like like at each other's like holding each other's hands, and then the whole
During
scene
the
with
spell?
no,
No, there's
outside.
a scene where they're
in the
outside,
they're outside in the
and it
street, and
looks like
Spider-Man and Strange they're
yeah,
fighting.
Spider-Man
Like,
and Strange are
something's
fighting
happening.
over something, and Spider-Man gets hit by Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange pushes his astral body outside of his real body.
Yes.
And it's
And
out
on
in the
top of
street.
that, yeah, so he pushes out his astral body at one point. Good point, George. Forgot about
Oh
that
yeah,
part.
I see it right here.
And then the bigger one, I mean, we don't see anyone else during the scene where Doctor Strange is making that crazy circle of trains besides him and Peter. I think they're fighting in that scene, maybe. I don't know what's going on. I think this is Doctor Strange for being who he is and where he is and what he's learned. Doing that sort of spell seems super reckless. There's something we're missing. There's something that's either not connected or there's a huge twist. I don't know which one,
I mean,
but it's.
I also think that
exciting
what
either
we
way.
saw in the trailer, a lot of what we saw in the trailer was not in the proper orders of sequences, right? They
Also
like,
true.
which is very typical of trailers. So
That is
something
definitely
like
true.
story wise, it's like it's to me, it's kind of obvious that they cut a lot of the scenes to make it look like especially even when like Doc Ock is like hello Peter,
I
and
mean,
it's made to look like
dude,
he's talking to our Peter, but
remember,
maybe
I
just
pointed
cut
out that
very specifically.
yes. I mean, they are not. It's not beyond them now to add scenes into a trailer to throw you off.
That's
Which
true.
I
That's
think
true.
we may have. I mean, we all saw Hulk running with everyone during Infinity War, who did not make an appearance, and that leads me to believe that are at least a couple times in this trailer that are just severely misleading us, which is
Yeah.
definitely within their power at this point.
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, I kind of like it. I like that in a way. I mean, of course,
Wouldn't it be
I thought
crazy
Robin
if he's
Hulk
the
back
what
then,
if
but-
Doctor Strange?
Oh man, I don't think that's it. But wouldn't that be spicy? I mean, you know, for all we've said, that Doctor Strange, despite his ridiculous like idea of going about ways, is clearly still a good person.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think he's what. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know
So-
that. I'm excited to see how this plays out very much. I will be traveling to Texas and seeing this movie with Tim, and
Ooh.
we're just gonna be. or
George,
at
you
least
better
I-
come out.
We'll see. I don't want to
George.
drive.
I'm just
I'll
gonna
fly,
be like,
maybe.
well, yeah.
Yeah, fly, dude. I flew.
Fly, dude.
I hear it's
I'll
pretty
try.
good. So to your point, Dan, where you're saying that he's, not normally this reckless, he's at this point, he's not really like that far removed. I mean, I guess it wasn't 5 years, but he was also removed for those 5 years when he was blinked out. But like, he hasn't been Strange or Sorcerer Supreme too terribly long. He's still
point.
headstrong, cocky, arrogant. Him underneath everything, he's come a long way in his one movie and subsequent trip into outer space, and then being blinked out of existence and then coming back. Like that's
so far, it hasn't
He
gone
wasn't-
bad for him. You're saying.
Yeah.
True. That's
I actually have the trailer on, and I'm kind of watching it to see these little moments.
So far, it
Um,
hasn't gone bad for him.
My prediction is that where he punches him out of his body is like almost kind of what happened with Hulk. Where he's asking him for something and he's
Gotta talk some sense into him or something.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean,
It looks like they're fighting over something.
here's what we know. They are merging the Sonyverse and the MCU, ladies and gentlemen. Spoilers. Spoilers. If you are watching this and you do not want to know about spoilers, I already ruined it.
Okay, I guess I'm
Say the
going now.
movie before
I'm
you
gonna
say
leave. Bye.
spoilers. You can't say spoilers and then say the name of the movie.
Yeah, spoilers for Venom 2. Okay, fuck this up. You just got the biggest spoiler in the world. Turn it off. I won't tell you nothing. But here you go. 5 seconds. 5 second pause. Okay, so I watched Venom over the weekend. Normally that's comic book movies. There's always been one that's released on my birthday. It was Venom, Joker, Venom in the 3 subsequent years, and I hope that there's going to be another one and that I can continue this tradition because I'm really enjoying it, because these are both 2 of my favorite villain characters in the comic books. I'm going to leave it at that. This movie was better than the last one. It was. That's not saying a lot, You know, you can polish a turd, it's still a turd at the end of the day.
Like a turd in the wind.
Right. Yeah. So they had a lot of that stuff. By no means am I going to say must go see this movie. I'm not going to force anyone to go through that. He's not even like they separate. Like Venom and Eddie separate for a good like 20 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, this is only a 90-minute movie. That's like a third of the movie practically. Like it's so it
Math checks out, I guess.
Yeah. So it has its issues. That being said, it is better. I liked the little development that they did give Cletus. They had Shriek in the movie, who was another symbiote who was had powers, I think, before the symbiote took her. Did her dirty as hell because she doesn't ever get the symbiote. It's annoying, and you know, again, they're for whatever reason, Sony's like, let's just kill people, and I'm like, stop doing that. Like, you can't just fuck you guys. So, the one big thing I liked more about this movie, because I'll keep this brief, is in the first one, you just got this at the end of the movie. That was the fight scene, was just basically a couple of kids' drawings that were being smashed together, like scribbling, and one's dark gray and one's dark red, or dark blue or black, whatever. So it was bad. It was really bad fight scene at the end of the first one. This one was a cool ass fucking fight scene. It gave me more of what I wanted. They had this cool thing to give them dialogue where you didn't have to hear them like a turd in the wind. You didn't have to hear that voice all day. They had a bell ringing, so it would like ring, and they would be like, they'd be fighting, that rings, and then suddenly it's Eddie and Cletus, and they're have like little dialogue, and then they turn back and then they fight a little bit more. So it was cool. It was a nice dynamic. But end credit scene, mid credit scene, stayed to the end. That was not worth it. Mid credit scene was Dan watched it. George, I'll describe it. Anyone who else wants to hear it, I'll do my best to recall this. He is basically sitting. Eddie is sitting in a hotel in some other country, speaking Spanish, watching a telenovela, and Venom starts to give Eddie a taste of the knowledge that he has accumulated as a hive mind on their planet, because Venom was kicked out, and I'm not getting into it. And then the moment that starts to happen, you get this really big like flash in the background, and then everyone's Eddie and Venom are like, "What the hell was that? Like, I didn't do that. Okay, what's going on?" The only good banter between the two of them for the whole movie. And it turns out the TV changed to a flat screen, and it's J. Jonah Jameson on screen. Good old, I can't remember his name. He's just talking like, it turns out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then he's like, you see Venom kind of be like, that face. And then he licks the screen. And you're like, well, that was creepy. But like, it's the loosest tie that they could possibly do to tie the two together. Either way, Venom is now officially in the MCU, and it's not just Venom, it's Tom Hardy's Venom. I love Tom Hardy. I think he was a much more stable Eddie Brock in this. So if they bring that Eddie Brock into this one, I will be very happy. Am I overly pleased? No, because if the movies were better, I'd be much happier. But, you know, maybe given that it's not purely Sony Studios and Sony heads that are writing this, that they'll actually give the character a little bit more sustenance and a little bit more something to tie them together. If it was like, cool, Spider-Man and Venom are going to have a crossover in Venom's movie, I would be like, shoot me now. Please, just I don't gouge my eyes out. I don't want to see that. You're going to ruin
I
my
kind of
favorite
think it's going to
superhero
be
of all
with
time.
that. I think it's going to be like that was the deal that Sony made. Remember when Spider-Man was no longer in the MCU like last year, randomly, and then they finally worked it out. I bet you that was the deal. Was that Tom Holland would do Sony films,
But he's not.
crossover.
He's not. It's the other way around. They're bringing Tom Hardy into this universe, which here's my other question, because we haven't seen
Venom
it yet.
3 Tom Holland shows.
I mean, he might at that point, because it would make more sense. it's not needed though. People are going to go see it anyway. This movie Venom has the highest grossing opening weekend of the pandemic, so people wanted it. Go figure. Would it beat Shang-Chi, which I was like, what is this true?
Wow,
That's what I read. I didn't get full into the article. I read
that's
a
just impressive.
in passing. Well, the last one made almost $1 billion.
I mean, it is exciting. On paper, Tom Hardy as Venom, and Carnage, the actor,
Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. I mean, that is exciting on paper. Like just saying those words, my body gets excited, but I just know that this isn't this isn't the way.
This is not the way. It was and Woody was fine. It wasn't his fault. I don't
It's
ever
not your
blame Woody
fault.
Harrelson
It's not your
for
fault.
anything.
Yeah.
He is a national treasure. But I did want more natural born killers than I wanted, zombie land. You know what I mean? Like it
Sure.
wasn't it was cool, it was good. He did what he could with the source material and the directing. I don't think Andy Serkis has really directed many movies. I know he's done
Mhm.
some, but if there's a guy to direct a CGI movie, this is the guy. And but here's my question. Does this mean that the future Sony movies are going to cross over? Do we get Morbius the Living Vampire in the MCU? Is he going to show up in Spider-Man? Do we get Jared Leto in Spider-Man No Way Home? Far
No,
From Home?
no,
Why
we don't get
not?
Jared Leto. The movie hasn't even been released yet. Not enough people
It's not
even
the
are
first time.
aware. But nobody, like regular people, aren't even aware of his character name. Like he's not like a major player.
I think if anything,
It's
they'll if he does cross over, they might wait until what's his name's Blade is out, which is
Mm,
not for a long way off.
mm-hmm.
boy,
He's a
that's
much
exciting.
better segue if Blade is already in the
Totally.
MCU, and Blade is like at least another phase away, at least, if not
Well, he's at
another
the end.
two
He's
phases
at the
away.
end. Isn't he's at the end of this phase? He's
No,
at the end of the
they
phase.
pushed him
No.
back, dude.
Oh damn. Okay, that's too bad. I'm excited
Yeah,
for that.
mostly probably because a big part of the pandemic, but also because they
Yeah.
put in extra movies here and there, and extra, and like they pulled the trigger on a few other movies that they were more ready for.
Mhm.
So Blade is
Okay.
distance it.
5 days ago is this article, and it says an official Marvel Twitter account might have unintentionally revealed that the Blade reboot starring, I can never get that, Mahershala, I can never get his name.
Mahershala.
Mahershala Ali, thank you, will hit theaters October 2022.
Really?
So we got 1 year from today.
That's still one. Yeah, that's.
It's still phase 4.
And
Is
that's
that
up
still
there. You
phase
said that was from
4?
5 days ago.
That article was written 5 days ago.
Wow.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess we'll see.
Then that is.
So-
Then Dan, you're right. That it's at the very, very end of that phase. Then.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that his tie-in will be intense in some way. Yeah. So Venom is Venom probably going to show up in this Spider-Man movie?
It would round out the Sinister Six. It would
I don't.
be.
It don't. I mean, okay. Look, I didn't see Venom 2. I didn't want to. Admittedly, I don't really care for the way it's done, and that's not against Tom Hardy. That's more of just like,
Tony.
yeah, it's more against just everything. I don't. I mean, I was before. I was just like, there's no Spider-Man symbol on his costume, which I'm over now at this point. But it's more just like, yeah, we are Venom, and it doesn't feel like it's a we. I feel like it's a Venom and Tom Hardy story. It like, and I don't. It, that's like the antithesis of the character, in my opinion. But regardless, I think he will be way more entertaining and well done in the Marvel movies, if and when he shows up. I said to Tim earlier, I don't see him being a villain. They've spent the last two movies building him up as a protagonist, though a protagonist who admittedly bites the heads off of some people, but nonetheless a more or less good guy. I don't that him just kind of like looking at the screen and licking and being like, yeah, like yes, like, but what? Like, what is your motivation exactly? Like, you want to eat him? I don't. That to me, just that post credit scene just made
Wait a
me
minute.
feel better about
Wait a
my
minute.
decision to not see the movie.
I have a
Like,
I have a theory.
okay.
What if okay, what if okay, wait a minute. We've seen okay, they're creating you get Toby, assuming you get Toby Maguire, right? And he trickles into this multiverse, right?
uh-huh.
We don't know when this clip is being shown. This clip could be of Jay Jonah could be literally like in the middle or end of the Far From Home movie, No Way Home movie. So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily before. So let's pretend it's middle of the movie. Follow me on this one, right? So Strange has already done his spell, right? We've already got a multiverse incursion of Tobey Maguire, of Andrew Garfield. If you have Tobey, that means you have an alternate Venom symbiote already that existed. And they share a hive mind. So if he's now in close proximity or contact with this character, with another Venom, that Venom has the hatred built into it for Spider-Man. He hates Spider-Man to his core. That is like the depth of his being, is to destroy the other being that rejected him as a character. So he might be like, why do I suddenly have an attraction to this character? Why do I recognize this person? That was what that lick was like why do I want to lick this screen right now? So that alone could make this a very interesting movie, because you can not say the words Topher Grace, but you can say that Spider-Man has had a history with Venom. You just took the one thing people were complaining about and just like symbiotically tied it into, osmosis it into this other Venom. That could be interesting. That's how I would write
Tim.
that's how I would write that.
Oh, that's not bad, Tim. I gotta
Mm,
say,
mm,
even
mm,
if it is the Mr. Fantastic of stretches,
Chills. I
I
have
mean
chills.
That's all. It's a big stretch.
that is the Reed Richards of stretches.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it
but
seems kind of, to me,
it's
maybe
not
that's just
bad.
my brain.
It's not bad. I think the biggest hurdle there is like, so hive minds are shared across multiverses.
This is the problem, okay? And this is
They're
the
shared
big problem with
proximity.
I'm going to tell you, this is the
Proximity.
big problem with tying in Venom with like the rest of the MCU, is that like you're going to have to be able to introduce this character to the MCU to the people who've never watched Venom, right? And who don't give two shits about it and who probably will never go see it. So like trying to stretch the connection between the two franchises right now, and Sony and MCU, is incredibly going to be like, it's going to be a hard sell to audiences who never wanted to go see Venom and who never seen Venom. So they got to make it as freaking stupid and dumb and easy to follow as possible. Do you know what I'm saying? Delivering this hot turd that is Venom into the MCU storyline is going to be a hard sell as it is. So you can't complicate that shit too much, or else people are just going to be like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
George saying hot turd was the highlight of this podcast for me. It's just this hot turd that has been just the way George said it.
Yeah,
I think that
George is right. I don't think
is.
you can't just your reasoning is great, Tim, but you like
It
someone
requires people to have to go and seen Venom, which most of the MCU audience probably might not have gone see. Like good amount might not have.
Like someone's got to be there to explain that, and you just got like a good quarter of the audience going, "What?" Like
Exactly.
Okay.
They don't have
gotta
to
be
be there.
stupid and easy to follow.
Look, I don't think any of that's going to matter, because I think Eddie Brock and this Venom maybe they'll fight like a kind of Batman versus Superman thing in the beginning, but I think ultimately he's going to help him and fight with him, which leaves an extra spot open for a potential Sinister Six, which is exciting.
Probably.
That's what I think.
I don't think people would need to have seen the Venom movies. I think they will have need to have seen the original Spider-Man 3 to get my connection more than they would have needed to. That movie was the highest grossing movie of that year. Like that movie made so much money. Everybody saw it. Plus, people know who Venom is.
Right.
Like he's a big mainstream.
But like Tobey Maguire's movie was like when we were kids. Do you have any idea how much of the audience nowadays is like isn't even born?
Yeah.
when
Look,
that movie was made.
that theory was for us. That theory was for the 37, 38, 45, 50-year-old
They got to sell it to the
fanboys
other half,
who have
dude.
seen
Like,
these movies.
they got
That
to
was
make
for
it super easy to follow. It has to make like it should just be like his
No, I
introduction
know.
should seem like as smooth as possible and as easy to follow and as easy for the audience to accept and move on, because like I think already bringing in somebody who wasn't introduced in the MCU into the storyline of the major like movie films is already a hard sell. Even
Movie films.
I dare say even the people that are showing up in like Sylvie and like all these people who are showing up in like the what ifs and stuff like that, even those people will be hard sells because not everyone has Disney Plus, dude. Like, not everyone is gonna watch the ancillary stuff. Some people are only gonna watch the movies.
Yeah,
I don't think they
know they got
give
their
a
audience
shit.
by the balls, and so they're just
Yeah.
like doing whatever they feel like. And if you know it, you're getting rewarded. And if you don't know it, I think it's okay. But yeah, I don't think any whatever. None of this is gonna matter because Venom's gonna be like, God, and more spoilers for yeah, more spoilers for Venom. I mean, they kill Cletus Cassidy, right?
Yes, I think they do, but like, well,
He
and
bit
then
his head
Venom,
off.
and then Venom, yeah, he killed him. That's right.
Yeah.
He bit his head off, and then
So, like,
he literally eats the symbiote in front of him, which I was like,
what?
what?
I mean, there was a thing in the comics. I know this because this is one of them I actually read where like Venom does eat the Carnage symbiote to like become more powerful, and he has both the Carnage symbiote and the Venom symbiote,
Yeah, that was
which
pretty
is
intense.
exciting. But like, that's obviously not what's happening, and I would be more excited if the potential of them, an actual Maximum Carnage storyline with Spider-Man and Venom versus Carnage, but they threw that out the window.
Well, but
So
not true, because Venom's not in that universe anymore. Cletus Cassidy still exists in our universe.
Whatever.
see.
They're all
So
multiverses.
again, he
exists
moved to
somewhere.
a different universe. It's
No one
kind of
dies.
brilliant because
so what's Eddie Brock
Bring
like
back
in our
Black
universe
Widow right
is my,
now.
Is my question then. So if that's true, then there's an Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy in our universe
I guess
somewhere.
technically speaking, I mean,
Okay.
we're getting into very muddy territory here where,
I mean,
does he
Bring back
explored,
Black Widow.
no.
It's all everyone's still alive. Whatever.
Like
Loki's
like,
alive. Everyone's just all alive. No one dies for sure.
somewhere.
Tony's gonna walk in and be like,
No.
Did Peggy Carter tell Steve that she was married, but she was married to Steve and didn't tell? Like, we're getting into basically time travel, same theory. You know what I mean? Like, is Steve his own grandfather? Who the fuck knows? So we're getting into that kind of like, where are we willing to suspend our disbelief? What can we as an audience or as an individual say, you know what, I don't care. Like when we look at Steve's time travel to go return the stones, so many weird implications when you actually think about it.
he's gonna meet the Red Skull.
The Red Skull. You know what? Let's just forget about it because it was a sweet moment. Are they going to create that? Probably not, because it's Venom, and we're not going to be like, oh, Venom, he's so sweet. So, well, I mean, kids might if they watch the movie.
Funny.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I just want to say, Sinister Six, are we getting it or are we not getting it?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
Yes.
Maybe
it feels like at least half the roster has shown up already.
Yes.
And I don't think they would do half and not the full thing.
They've only showed us in the trailer. They only showed us 2.
Yeah, okay. They only showed us 2. You're right. But I mean, he's not one of them. He's their lackey.
That's
we're
He's never official member of the Sinister Six.
The Vulture is showing up.
Vulture.
He's got, and that's 3. You're not going to give us 3 and not do the full 6.
Scorpion.
Scorpion. I mean, I don't know. Then
Doc Ock, Goblin. Right. So that's 4.
Shocker.
So last 2. It's not Shocker.
Stop it, George.
Shut the fuck up. It's. I mean, the last 2. Who I don't know. I mean, you maybe they might. I don't think they're going to go the route of Mephisto was tricking us the whole time and is actually alive.
Well,
I mean, sorry, Mysterio.
Oh, Electro. I think Electro is confirmed.
Oh, Electro is confirmed. Okay,
so there's 5.
That's 5.
That means we've got 2 from Tom Holland's, 2 from Toby,
Oh
who's
shit.
and Electro? Who's the other one? Please,
Oh
for the love of
no.
God.
I don't want anyone else from that
The
universe.
Croc.
Nobody. I don't want anybody. I don't want
The
the
lizard?
lizard. I
Lizard.
don't
I
want
definitely don't
the
want that
I don't want
fucking.
It's not Shocker.
you're
Well,
not
they
getting
can't.
another goblin.
Yeah, we're not getting another goblin.
And I don't want Rhino. I really don't want that Rhino. I do. I'm going to say this very, very slow for the kids in the back here. I do not want that Rhino. Like, I really,
And
that
it
was
sucks because
the,
Paul Giamatti is one of our most beloved actors, and it's like that is
damn
probably
you,
the.
Spider-Man. And it was just like, you're trying to be, no, stop, go home, Paul. You're drunk.
Oh my
Like,
god! Oh my god, dude. Well, the math is there. But no, we want no one. The lizard would have to be the one. That's the
'cause he
only.
didn't die, did he?
No, or did he?
No.
He didn't.
Probably the Lizard.
But he, how often has he been portrayed in the Sinister Six, Tim? Like, I feel like he's not usually
Not very
part of
often.
it. So that leads me to believe
Oh,
that
I
maybe there's
think,
someone else
I,
we're not thinking of.
well, oh no, this is a different universe. Well, I
It's
guess in
none
the
of. It's
stone,
not. It's not going to
it's,
be.
I mean, Venom. That's
It could be.
that's 6, and that's the only other character that is actually all there are 6 confirmed well, Scorpion's not confirmed and Vulture is not 100% confirmed. So we only technically have 4 confirmed villains, but I mean the logical response is Vulture and Scorpion. So there's technically 6 villains. Now, do they stay together the whole time? Does Venom turn on them? Does someone else turn on them?
Bringing
At
the
one point in the
Kingpin.
comic books, Rhino was part of the Sinister Six, and he was never in it to actually kill Spider-Man. He just wants to beat Spider-Man. It's a little different. And so this might have been a book, but he basically saved Spider-Man. He tried to convince, not saved, but he tried to convince the rest of the Sinister Six to be like, hey, don't kill him. Like, beat him, stop him, get your plan, but don't kill him. So
Hmm.
maybe Rhino does show up and becomes the voice of reason, but not that
Not that Rhino.
Rhino.
That's not
No.
Rhino. That's just a dude in a suit, and we've had enough of that.
Yeah.
Dudes in suits.
So you know,
Whatever.
Here's my thing: is they're showing us all the signs of Sinister Six. To me, that means we're not getting a Sinister Six. It really does. Because there's been so many times where I'm like, oh yeah, oh, but I mean that was TV, not movies. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting.
I-
Okay, the only reason I'm
Okay.
doing this is because I don't know how much of me is cropped and you can see in the background for anybody watching. Spider-Man is like, I've been reading this since I was like, I think 8, 9 years old. Never stopped. I'm not reading as much currently. He's my literal favorite character. I was a nerd my whole life, so he's the most relatable thing I have. I do not want to set my sights super fucking high and then not get that stuff. So I'm like, probably Sinister Six. I'm just gonna be like, no, there's not gonna be no Sinister Six. And then when Sinister Six shows up, bam, I came in my pants. Like it's gonna be. I want that moment.
Well, I'm not
So
sitting next to you then. If that's the
No, I recommend putting a buffer seat. Also, by the way, I went and saw Venom at the Alamo Draft House. I don't know if they have one in Chicago yet. I think they do. Maybe not. But it was
The
real nice.
Alamo Draft House.
Dude,
Yeah.
they're in San Francisco.
Sounds
they're
like a
in-
Texas thing. Oh,
They are. They started in San Antonio, but they've expanded. I think they have one in Chicago. You should check it out. It's like one of those where they serve you food. You can order it while you're at your seat, so it's kind of nice. But when I was like, I want these 2 seats. After I did it and I went back to look, they built a buffer next to me. Like they would not let anyone take the seats on either side. So they're
Nice.
like, oh, I went and saw Shang-Chi at an AMC, fucking shoulder to shoulder. Like, they're like, fuck it. You guys are
Yeah.
fine. And
that's
I'm
Texas
like,
for you.
well, that's true. So yeah, damn it. There was something else I wanted to talk about.
You were talking about building up your expectations.
Yeah, no, there was something I wanted to move
Something
on
about
from
coming
Spider-Man.
or splooging, or I don't know. You lost me.
I'll bring a poncho. I get it. All right.
Yeah. Call me Gallagher. Um,
Wrap it
Oh
up.
God.
I mean,
Yeah. What else is there left to say?
I don't know. Anybody playing anything new? We're gonna bring it around.
New? No.
No, no.
Old favorites? Yeah.
Sure. Classics. We're diving into Dying Light, and George is.
Getting
What, you're
excited.
still streaming like Hearthstone and all this stuff?
Sure.
What did you say you were
Hearthstone.
gonna play the other day? I talked to you yesterday.
I don't know. I've been playing Age of Mythology on the side. Ombus.
Nice.
Ombus.
That's how you do it,
Rex
right there,
Tamar.
ladies and gentlemen.
Rex Tamar. Credipop. Broomsphere.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Let's stay on
Rectus.
Spider-Man, sort of. Spider-Man
Okay.
adjacent. It's still Spider-Man. Did anybody watch the Sony showcase?
Sure.
Did you see the trailer for Spider-Man 2?
Sure did.
So,
That's
like,
exciting.
you get they gave you two characters, which I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the thing. The narrator is Craven,
Oh, right. I knew that. And then
the voice in the shadows is Venom, and I'm like, oh man,
What
this
is
is gonna
this?
be good.
Early for Craven, but okay.
I also think they
sure.
cast Craven they're gonna do a Craven movie. Sony is gonna do a Craven movie. They gotta stop doing that. They have to stop introducing supervillains without the superhero. They're not
Right. It makes them protagonists and that makes them sympathetic. And that's
I don't
not
think
what
they're trying to make him I think they're gonna try and do like a Joker. Yeah, I'm fucking
Yeah.
But like that's some of Spider-Man's villains have redeeming qualities. Like Craven
Sure.
the Hunter being one of the more redeemable ones. When
Really?
you really Yeah, I mean he was trying to get at one point he goes crazy.
Spider-Man?
Well, he man, he went crazy by a serum, but he was trying to, prove his love for his wife and the lady that he lost and blah 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 blah. So I mean, he has more human characteristics and relatable things that he can talk about than Eddie Brock and other characters and Norman Osborn and fucking Vulture and all these characters.
I was wondering how you felt about so they introduced Venom and Craven in that trailer for the new Spider-Man game, which is super exciting. Because me and Tim agreed actually, we talked about this the other day. Me and Tim think that the Spider-Man 2018 PS4 exclusive game is overall the best Spider-Man story to be portrayed on a screen.
Agreed.
And then I reiterated better than Spider-Verse, and Tim said better than Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And I have to agree.
I agree.
It is a well done story, and anyone who gets a chance should check it out. But so that being said, I was wondering how you felt about the fact that we're not going to see a Norman Osborn as Green Goblin, I guess, in this universe, as he's clearly on his deathbed in the trailer. I thought that was interesting, and kind of sad. Yeah. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
Are they doing them like they did the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Because is that what you're thinking about?
But I wasn't sure. Like, wasn't the last game building up to Harry Osborn possibly being Venom? Wasn't that what that was leading to? And that's so. I mean, they obviously aren't going to go that direction with Green Goblin, so there's no Green Goblin, I guess, in this universe.
I don't know where you're getting this information about Harry Osborn being on his deathbed. That was in a movie.
Oh, maybe I'm mixing things up. Wasn't he sick?
I might be wrong.
Oh no, you're right.
No,
that's my mistake.
That's
my mistake.
the Andrew Garfield movie.
Yeah, I was mixing it up.
No, I was like, no, they're giving us Goblin at some point.
Yeah, he's just so old already. I guess I was just confused, and he's like running for mayor and shit, or he is mayor, and I don't know.
He is mayor, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Mixing up my Spider-Man. Too many Spider-Man.
But yeah, no, I'm excited for those. They also gave us the world's shortest trailer for a video game in the Wolverine
Oh,
Insomniac is doing a Wolverine game. To be
Insomniac.
determined. I mean,
I trust
if it's
Insomniac.
if it's like this, I'm fine. I honestly don't really care if if they just kind of like, oh hey, you like this fighting style? Do it as Wolverine. I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
fine. I'm fine with that.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
cool. Just
Copy the
give me more
copy the
Batman
Batman
games.
Arkham
I'm fine
games
with
like
that. Yeah.
as many times as you want with as many superheroes. I'm probably on board. Those were
And
great.
then the other one that gave me chills was uh God of War,
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
sure. Yeah.
That looks super good.
I'm so the guy who directed both this last God of War in 2018 and the God of War 2 in PS2, Cory Barlog, he was the guy who did those, and he's not doing this next one. And I just don't think it's going to be as good because God of War 2 and this last God of War were easily the best.
Easily.
And he just
He's not doing this one?
He's not.
Come on,
He's a
man.
producer, so it's not like he's not around. But he's not directing this game, and so I think it's going to I just don't think it's going to be as good. But it still will be very good, and it's exciting to see what happens and how things play out. And there's a lot to unpack there. We'll save that for a different podcast.
The question is, are any of these enough to convince Senor GJC327
No,
to get a
You
console?
don't need to finish that sentence. I'm never buying a console. It's such a waste of money.
It's not.
It's gonna die. Consoles are gonna die.
You said this 10 years ago too, George. By the way,
I have a Switch. Like, what other I mean,
PS4 is like killing it, and it's gonna.
I don't really care. I'd rather spend that money on a new computer than buy a freaking PS4 or a new PS5 or whatever.
What happened, man? We used to sit around all the time. The three of us just
PC Master Race. You have a Switch, dude.
I would literally bring
PC Master Race
tube TV on the metro train in Chicago
to play Borderlands, which we could play on PC too.
Yeah, but
you said you were gonna get an Xbox once Borderlands came out, and you held true to that right up until the day of launch, and you backed out. So you can't pull that shit.
All right, I don't care. That doesn't hurt my feelings to say that I backed out of that. I don't ever want to spend money on a console. It doesn't make any sense to buy one right now. Like, I don't.
You were saying that right up until then, and then you're just like, nah, I don't care. And that sucks.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, Merch, but I don't want to buy a console. I don't want to spend that money on a console and then have to spend that money 5 years later on another console. It's like, dude. It's
yeah, but people drop that much money to upgrade their computer. It's the same thing. It's just people justify it because they sold the same shell.
And I could do more on a computer than I could do on. And it's I feel like I'm locked in and constrained with a console. There's more that I could do on a computer than I could do on a.
George isn't wrong. This is the way that it's going to be, and it's going to. I don't think their consoles are going to die out necessarily, but it's just
they're going to be if you look at the next few generations and all of the consoles that are coming out, they're essentially just dumbed down versions of computers now. That's what it is.
I wouldn't even call them dumbed down at that point.
Though I will say that the generations are lasting longer and longer now, and it's much more bang for your buck than it used to be. Consoles used to be released every fucking 4 years or something.
I barely use my Switch. Honestly,
the Xbox came out over a decade ago at this point.
There's one.
I think this. Who knows how long this next generation will last? I'm thinking 15 years maybe. That's good bang for your buck. I know you're not getting a PC that's lasting that long.
Tell you what you can't do on a PC: play God of War. I'll tell you that. Tell you what else you can't do: play Spiderman. Tell you that.
I don't really care. I've never played any of those, so it's not like I feel like I'm missing out or anything, right?
If you played them, you'd understand what you were missing out on. Anyway,
I'm not a big Spider-Man fan like you are, coming in my pants in theaters for Sinister Six, So I don't it doesn't.
This is a lost cause here, Slice. There's nothing we should say could possibly convince George.
That Spider-Man game and that God of War game were just so good.
Two of the greatest games of all time. Well, I don't know about Spider-Man. The story was great, but the God of War game was probably. I think it's the best game, one of the best games ever made, and it's
I will put both of those in my top 5 video games of all
There's
time.
so many games on PC that you miss out that you can't play on console too. So it's like it's not like I play a bunch of different games in general.
Fair point. That's true.
I play pretty much 3 games. Okay, Kraidapa or Rectus, Rextama, and also Hearthstone, and then like sometimes Marbles, and maybe some Halo, and then maybe some
Halo. That's
Fortnite.
what it was. You were telling me you were playing Halo. I think I have that.
Master Chief Collection is free on Xbox.
Let's rebuild. Dan, were you there for the early Halo stuff? I don't know if you were.
Yes, he was. He played SOS.
I dubbed the term Monades Mon.
No, not that.
Oh, you mean like was I playing with you guys? I don't think so, but I played those. I played the earlier ones.
Was it? I don't know.
Dan was playing Reach with us.
Yeah, I think it was. And we built that level, that super tiny little box level that had 2 towers in the corner.
Yeah.
SOS.
Yeah.
I was there for the whole thing.
Let's rebuild it. Get some of George's followers, get us, and go play and just fuck around on a stream for a little while. Anyway,
find out.
You guys gotta get Master Chief Collection.
People could have stopped listening.
I think it's free
20 minutes ago. So
let's check.
It is. It's on Game Pass. Because it's a Microsoft game. So, in review, we talked a lot. Good times. See you guys next week. No,
you gotta watch. Oh, talk about wait. We gotta end things you need to watch.
Okay.
What are we watching?
I know what you're gonna say.
I know. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. Squid Game. Hey, we need to do it. You guys all need to binge it. We need to do a full episode on it before the fade is over.
I'm down.
Or the fade.
That's hot right
now. I'll watch it.
Squid Game.
Yeah, for sure intrigues me.
What are your recommendations?
I got nothing I want to recommend right now.
What have you been watching?
I mean, I've been watching. I'm Kim's Convenience, and I've been watching. I started Her Dark Materials. Or his Dark
how's
Materials. That? It's the begin. It's early. It's hard to say. It's okay. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Right now, it just isn't hitting home for me. But there's the quality is there, and the production is there.
That's good. That's good.
What I cared about.
I want to watch that too. I watch both of those things. Man, I've been doing nostalgia runs. So like, I just finished watching like Friends, and like
I rewatched Firefly this week.
Nice.
Or this last week.
It's so heartbreaking.
I've been watching Criminal Minds. I only catch every few episodes because I'm not the one watching it. So I'll just come in and be like, oh, what are you watching? Oh, cool. I'll watch that too. And so like I'm into it and I like the show, but like I haven't been watching. I watched What If. I watched, these. I still have only seen the first episode of Star Wars Visions, and it was cool, and I really want to see the rest of them, but I don't really have must go watch. Bob's Burgers. Go watch that if you haven't. That show is fucking hilarious.
I started rewatching, trying to finish off Archer wherever I left off on it.
I'm doing that too. It's not as hard. There's one season that's not great, and then
I'm in it probably.
Well, it's more just like I appreciate about that show is they things continuity like they keep like plot points, and I like come in I'm like
the gags.
What is happening? Like so that's the challenge for me right now because I've also watched that show super stoned with you guys.
The first couple of seasons they had loose continuity, which was kind of neat. And then they started kind of going more into in-depth continuity. And then you get into these weird, which seem like one-off seasons where it's like he's a detective in the 50s and then he's lives on an island and is like a pilot, and then fucking Krieger is a talking bird, and then there's one where he's in space, and it's just like, what the hell is happening? And then they have a spoiler that I won't get into because I mean, I still like the show. They do it pretty well, and they really do change the dynamic up a lot. And it's I love the show. It's good. I'm watching Doctor Who again as usual. So I'm a creature of habit. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Marathon.
Yeah, they just announced the next final season for what's her name. Whatever, it's got a subtitle, so it seems like it's going to actually be linear as opposed to the last 2 seasons that she had, which is kind of like, what the fuck is happening? But still, she's very good. She's an excellent doctor. I'm not taking anything away from her. Jodie Whittaker.
There you go.
Yeah. Broadchurch. That was the one
Roger.
I'd recommend. I
Oh
didn't watch
yeah,
the third. I didn't watch the third season because I
I
hear
didn't
it's just
either.
like stupid, depressing, and crazier than the first two. But the first two were fantastic.
For the
Broadchurch has
first
the
one.
doctor in it.
It does, and
It's two doctors.
the
That's
Doctor
both
and the
doctors
Queen.
in it.
It has Jodie
Well,
Whittaker and David Tennant.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know both of those were in
and
it.
Queen Elizabeth, Olivia Colman. She's in it too.
Wow. Okay.
It's a cool. The first season is amazing. The second one is heavy, but still really well done. Good acting. I think it's Chris Chibnall, who did it.
Chibnall.
Is the guy who wrote it, and it was great. And then he became the showrunner for Doctor Who, and he's also working with Jodie Whittaker. But like, he didn't take that storytelling prowess and like complete start to finish story and bring it to Doctor Who. The first two seasons of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who has great character development, but there's no overarching story. There's nothing that connects the episodes other than the characters, the Doctor and her companions. Whereas the earlier seasons of it are all like they're building towards a big bad, or they're building towards a moment in time where the Doctor has to do a thing, and it's this whole big kind of like they're great. And then this one's lacking that. Her character is fantastic and I love her stuff, but it's just like it's missing something, and I think he's finally getting that in his farewell season. And they're bringing back David Tennant's showrunner, Russell T Davis, to do another season of Doctor Who.
The Doctor Who.
I mean,
Cool.
anybody who's a Who fan will have enjoyed hearing most of that if they didn't already know it.
You Star-Lord.
You two sons of bitches.
Star-Lord.
Not so
It was
much.
one day.
Who?
Yeah. And
Yes.
one day I'll watch Breaking Bad, but we'll
Never.
see.
Yeah, one day,
It's-
sure.
Let's mention.
Oh,
it's very hard to
Expanse!
start a new show.
Expanse. Of course, I say
Expanse.
it every
Oh, man,
week. A
I
new
gotta watch
trailer
the
came
last
out,
season.
but everyone
did
needs to catch up.
I still
I'll
haven't
edit a
seen
bunch
that
of this
last
out.
season.
Did anybody see the trailer for don't know what it's called, the Game of Thrones spinoff?
Yeah, House of Dragons. I saw
Matt
it.
Smith.
It's cool. The Doctor, another Doctor.
Can't. I'm still hurting, man. I'm still
So
hurt.
it's just bitter. I haven't.
I'm still
I
hurt.
used to
I am too,
rewatch
but-
Game of Thrones like every single year. I watch it all. And it's been now
Yeah.
almost 2 years since I watched Game of Thrones because I'm still kind of butthurt. But
Right. I mean, I used to rewatch the show a bunch too, and it's just like
that first
how
season,
do
I've
you-
seen it at least 20 times.
How do you get excited for something when you know how it ends? You can't, and it's just
Prequels
biggest
are hard like
heartbreaker.
that. It's like
Oh man, we're not going to talk about how disappointing last season was.
Rogue One.
No, we're well past
Done
that.
again.
Rogue One.
But it's just
See, Rogue One. How it's gonna end? Disappointed.
Rogue One. We bring up Rogue One again.
We almost went through an episode where I didn't
No.
say it.
I'm the one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Okay, we got it in there. I mean, we almost went. I said Rogue
let's
One.
talk
I
about-
thought we were gonna go through without mentioning Rogue One. We didn't. I had to
George, you did not
shoehorn
let me
it.
know. I need to add a little ticker, a little ding, Rogue One, and it'll just come up the moment you say it. So every episode, George says
Fucking
one.
Rogue One. Fucking core hound.
We have
Goddamn.
we've gone
9-9
zero
core
episodes. You know that like we have had gone this many days without an accident. I'm gonna go. We have gone 0 episodes without George mentioning Rogue One. I'll put it up as we've gone
Oh
one
my
episode,
God.
and at the end of it,
It's
it'll
not
change to
possible.
0.
It's not possible.
No.
Can't.
Speaking of
kind of-
Donnie
it's a-
Yen, he's gonna be in the next John Wick.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm super
I am
excited
a
about that.
fan of Donnie Yen.
Yeah. Those are the
That's exciting.
I want that scene to be great. Although I really wanted a little bit more from the John Wick, the Keanu Reeves versus, oh my God, what's his name? The Master Chef guy.
Oh, what? What? Wait, you did?
He's a legit martial artist who has won many
I'm
tournaments.
aware, but it's not like he's like this big on-screen
No, but I
presence that
wanted
people
a
have been
little
clamoring
bit.
for.
A little bit more from the
for-
fight. I don't
Alright,
care
that's
about his
fine.
presence. I want the fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those movies are about the fights. I don't know presence. Give me
No, I just I mean like the Donnie Yen versus Keanu. That's
that'll be
exciting.
good.
I mean
Yeah,
that's
that'll be
a big
good.
that's some pretty big shoes to fill there, but so we'll see how that plays
Yeah.
out. I'm excited for that.
All right,
Nah,
gentlemen.
I got nothing left to tank. I'm
Yeah,
running
we
things
got.
here.
Yeah, we're stretching.
Dan's
it.
like, I'm
We should've
fading.
stopped, like,
Can't
40
do it.
minutes ago.
Dan, how are you ever gonna be a pro streamer if you can't go at least like 6
Dude,
hours?
I'm gonna be. I'm not. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to be like a
He's gonna
YouTuber first.
Break
he's
out
gonna
the myth
stream-
Age of Mythology, dude. With
gonna
the Age
stream
of Mythology
himself
with
sleeping.
Smirch.
Dude, I could just go full train wreck and just start doing cocaine, I suppose.
Oh,
But
God.
I don't think
You don't need that. We'll just play fucking Dying Light for 12 hours straight, and you'll be strung out like a motherfucker. All
every
right.
time there'll be a
Good
noise,
games.
like, what the fuck is that?
Good
Good
games.
games.
I need to go get food and then log on and play.
Oh,
Dying
wait.
Light.
Do
So,
your alcohol.
what?
Where can we find people?
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Thanks, George. George is now the host of the Modern Nerd for the last half of this episode because
trying to keep
I don't
us
know
on.
what's happening here.
Can't be dawdling, dude.
Oh,
Lollygagging.
man, so
What?
true.
Follow the Modern Nerd on I think I have a Twitter, but on Instagram, and then you can find me at SirSlice13 on most platforms. Dan is non-existent on social media. So George, what do you got?
This is my channel. You're on it. Twitch.tv/GJC327.
on everything.
Find me here on the
On
channel
YouTube,
you are currently
Instagram,
watching.
Twitter, OnlyFans, TikTok, Fansly, so
OnlyFans?
close. Everywhere.
Okay.
The
Weibo.
ultimate presence.
Weibo.
George still has a Vine account, so you know.
No, I don't even know what Vines
Dude.
are.
Man,
I miss
rest in
Vine.
peace, Vine.
You know what
Dude,
I do have? WWE Tout.
Oh, God. I can't believe I can't. That's so funny.
No.
I got Tout account.
I miss Vine, dude. I miss when originality was rewarded instead of just doing the same fucking thing that everyone else is
TikToks.
doing, like on TikTok.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right,
I'll
see you
talk to
kids
guys.
later.
Good fight.
Fun
Good night.
Good night.